Producer. Mr. Producer. All right. Now we can do screen caps. Yep. There we go. Test sound. Bomba clot. Oops. All right. Transition. All right.
Live?
We're live. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm fired up, bro. I'm ready to go. This is my 6th shot of espresso.
By noon.
5 and 6 together in here. But yeah, by noon. Naeem's back. Naeem, the Bangladeshi hero. Bobby's in here cooking.
Locked in.
Ollie, everybody. But yeah, what's going on, Mr. Bauer? We're already having a nice discussion about the markets before we even went live. But what's going on, player?
It's been a little bit of a shaky morning. I was kind of scared coming in. Not scared, but I knew it was going to be like this because we were already kind of teetering around range lows going into today. And I know that every single Monday is just the same simulation over and over and over again. So I kind of figured there was going to be a slight deviation below range lows, which kind of we saw in Ethereum. I mean, it's hard to say really where the bottom of the range is, but I saw Ethereum pulled below 3,000 this morning. Pulled down to like 29.50. Had a good bounce though, so I'm hoping the bottom of the range is going to continue to hold and show true. It's something that we can still continue to respect, and as long as it continues to bounce off the bottom, we can continue to respect it. Hopefully, I know this is a week that I think there's a lot of data that's going to be coming out the rest of this week, more towards the end of the week.
Yep.
And, the inauguration is 7-8 days away. So it's kind of a choppy time. I mean, there's obviously a lot going on right now. There's a lot of data to come out at the end of the week. There's a lot going on in the country in general. And then with the inauguration coming up, it's just a weird time to be invested. But, we just need the ranges to continue to be respected on ETH and Bitcoin.
Do you remember whenever you asked me about ETH? I said 3K.
I said, Pre's like, if we slip below 3,000 on ETH out of the range, we might have to readjust the thesis. I'm like, what are you going to do if it goes below 3,000? Set back to zero.
That was my response. It was just, zero. That's because either way, I'm not selling. That's the thing. Now, you guys watching, that you don't have to, go to zero with us, but it's not going to go to zero. But the point is that I'm not selling. It just doesn't matter. I'm not going to sell until Q2 because historically that's just what it is. And I'm going to play the probabilities. So if the probabilities are that the market's going to be higher in Q2 than it is right now in Q1, and it's just like, I'm just not going to take that chance. The EV, the expected value for you fucking degenerate gamblers that use EV, the EV doesn't make sense for me to sell right now. It's like I have a higher EV play to sell in Q2. Now, could it potentially be wrong? Yeah, you're not going to win every single hand, but if you over time you'd make the highest EV plays, the highest expected value plays, and that's how you make money. You just got to do it over time. But yeah, no, we broke down below 3,000 on ETH this morning, popped back up, huge buyback right away, which is good. That's constructive. I actually was talking to, I think I was telling you about him, Rafi, one of the guys that worked with us for a brief moment in the insurance industry, and he asked me about a couple of reinsurance companies and insurance companies in California and what would make sense in terms of investing into some of those companies or how to make money off of those companies, being that the wildfires are happening in California right now. And so I actually want to go over a couple of those things once we're done with crypto. But I told him exactly pretty much what happened this morning. Yesterday, he was like, at the market open, I'm going to go ahead and long these companies. And I said last night, I can even, read the DM. I said, don't long or short the open of the market because that's always a fade, especially on Monday for the New York Open. If it dumps hard at the very open or right before the New York Open, that's typically a fade. So by noon or later that day, you'll start to see the market go in the other direction. That's exactly what happened. We got a fucking fat puke this morning. So if he would have longed, he would have gotten smoked. But if he waits, I literally told him wait till afternoon. And now it's afternoon, and we've already been bought back, and we're back up into the range for Bitcoin. So that's just a little tip for you guys who are trying to trade like that. Don't fade the New York Open on Mondays. Typically, you get the opposite movement from what Monday does. So if Monday's a dump day, then typically Tuesday and the rest of the week can be upwards price action. Last week it happened where Monday was a pump day, and then what happened the rest of the week last week? We dumped. So, fade the New York Open. But
yeah. Did you see about the just real side note and the fires in California that people were faking being firefighters? They were dressing up as firefighters and then just robbing people's houses.
Degenerate.
Insane, dude. Yeah.
California.
People were faking to be firefighters and just breaking into people's cribs and stealing stuff. They arrested like 25 fake firefighters.
Yeah, that's incredible. Did you see the Mexican guy on the news?
Mm-mm.
The guy that he asked the reporter, he said, "Do you know why these fires are going on right now? You guys should know. You guys are the news." And the lady's like, no, like, I don't know what's going on. Did you see that video?
No.
Okay, I'll save it for later then. I'll send it to you. He has a good answer, and I think I agree with him. So, anyways, into the charts. All right, so the most important thing we're going to look at first is Bitcoin, and then we're going to give some context. Well, actually, while I pull up Bitcoin, let me give a little bit of context. So let me share my screen. From Mr. Bauer, and let's take a look at these markets, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So we got Bitcoin up top, and we got others dominance down below. So we're going to talk about how this works here in a second. Give me the top 3 meme coins that I should invest in now. Hilarious.
Now.
Relax. Relax, Umair. So we have Bitcoin up top. We have others dominance down below. So just so you guys understand the context of the market, this is not a crypto specific dump, and we're not even really dumping right now. We're just at the range lows. So this isn't crypto specific. Understand that everything is down right now. So if you look at SPX is down 0.64%. The top 100 is down 1.13%. Gold's down 1%, right? The VIX is up 4%, which is actually not necessarily good for the S&P. And then DXY, Dixie, which is the US dollar index, is also up 0.22%. So in the context of overall markets, everything is selling off right now. It's not a crypto specific thing. So that's number one, why you shouldn't be freaked out by the fact that price is moving down right now. It's not a crypto specific thing. The reason that price is moving down in the SPX and all markets across the world is because the US dollar is showing strength right now. Okay. So as the US dollar gains value, so if we go, I'm going to, a little sneak preview of that chart, but the US dollar is fucking chatting right now. It just decided since September, October of 24 to just fucking be straight up only. And so if the US dollar is maintaining value and actually gaining value, that means assets priced against the US dollar are becoming less valuable, right? Because all we're doing is pair trading. So anything divided by US dollar is just a pair trade. It's Bitcoin denominated in US dollars. If the US dollar becomes more valuable in the denominator of the fraction, then that means that the overall fraction is going to be smaller, right? If you divide a number by a larger number down below, it's a smaller number, okay, for you math gurus out there. All right. So as the US dollar is becoming stronger, that means yields on bonds are also becoming stronger. Therefore, there's an incentive, there's an arbitrage opportunity for people to take their money out of risk assets and put them into bonds and earn yield off of bonds. That's not good for our precious meme coins, for our precious digital currency. We don't want the US dollar going up. We don't want the bond, US bond yield to be going up, okay? So once we start topping out on the USD, I mean, look at this, bro. This thing's fucking chatting, right? So as long as we can get close to a top on the US dollar and that starts to tank once Trump gets in office and starts spending money, then you're going to start to see risk assets start to rally again. So that's the context. I just want to provide the context of the overall markets, what's going on. It's not crypto specific. This is all markets. selling off because the US dollar is getting stronger, yields are getting stronger, and yields off of bonds are getting stronger. And there's going to be less rate cuts this year than initially anticipated. Therefore, initially what was priced into the market, there's going to be less rate cuts this year. So they also sold off because of that. Okay, so that's the context in which the markets are operating within. It's not a crypto specific sell off. Okay, so I'm going to set the stage for you here, Logan, then you can talk about this a little bit. So right now, what we're looking at is Bitcoin price history up top, and then the others dominance chart down below. So others dominance is effectively, you can literally look at it right here. It's crypto total market cap excluding the top 10 dominance. Okay. So others dominance is basically the total market cap of crypto subtracted by the top 10 assets in crypto. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, USDT, USDC, XRP. The top 10 assets in crypto market cap removed, whatever you're left with is others dominance. So that means what percentage of crypto is dominated by these assets. Okay, if that makes sense for you guys in the stream. So Logan was making a good point about this and how the price behaved, but if you want to go ahead and start making your point, Logan, on why this is significant, how the price on others dominance was behaving during the last bull run compared to what we could be seeing now.
Yeah, sure. So obviously we were talking about it all last year, saying that January is typically the time where Ethereum starts to outperform Bitcoin. And it's typically the time where alt season truly begins. And obviously, we haven't seen that yet this January. And I would just wanted to make sure that everyone is kind of on the same page, knowing that January, it's not the time of the year exactly. Obviously, crypto is very cyclical, but the time of the year isn't really the best indicator of when alt season is going to begin. It's obviously it's going to depend on how the bottom chart, which is others dominance, which is basically altcoins. You know, you're taking out the top 10 largest market cap coins in crypto. How they're going to perform, it depends on what Bitcoin does. So last year, or not last year, last cycle, January of 2021, you guys can see on the top, Bitcoin at the beginning of the year in 2021 had its first, this is the daily chart, so it had its first high time frame correction after going into price discovery. So Bitcoin, it was pumping. You guys can see down on the bottom, altcoins had continued to bleed up until that point against Bitcoin. And then it had put in a bottom right around the beginning of January. So even though Bitcoin was still pumping, altcoins were also pumping with it. And they had put in a bottom against Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. Then, you know, Bitcoin, it has its first high time frame correction. And if you look back at altcoins during that time, whenever Bitcoin started bleeding from where he has marked out right now on January 8th, altcoins got absolutely eviscerated. You know, they bled 60%. So, but if you look at the bottom, the altcoins had put in a bottom already against Bitcoin. So Bitcoin goes through its correction. I'm not sure if you want to put in the price change up at the top as far as how much Bitcoin actually pulled back right there.
Yeah.
But I think it was, I know it was more than 30%.
So from the top right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 30%.
Yeah. So Bitcoin experienced a 30% pullback, which, you know, right now we just pulled back from 108 to about 90,000. So still not even a 30% pullback, not even 20%.
Yeah, like 15, 16%. So half of what we pulled back last bull run.
Yeah. So we pulled back 15% or, you know, 30% at this point on Bitcoin. Altcoins got eviscerated. And then once Bitcoin finally broke out of that correction and started to pump again, that's when alt season officially began. And then you guys can see altcoins outperformed Bitcoin for the next 6 months. So all the way through May, you know, towards the end of May, which is when Priyama was just saying we're expecting to sell. That's how long altcoins were outperforming Bitcoin the whole time that Bitcoin had corrected itself and then just kind of ranged into price discovery.
Yep.
So that's what we're waiting for. It doesn't really matter how far Bitcoin pulls down right now. I mean, even if Bitcoin pulls down to previous all-time highs, which I don't think is going to happen. Most people don't think that that's going to happen. You know, it's not going to pull back to like 72, 73,000. I don't foresee that happening, but even if it did, it doesn't really matter because it's not going to alt season's not going to begin based off of this data until Bitcoin recovers, goes back into price discovery and starts pumping again. And then after that, it doesn't matter what Bitcoin does. Alt season's already going to begin and it's going to have the green light to start outperforming. And then we're going to get that outperformance more than likely until sometime in May. We're going to sell. We're going to go back into the summer months, reaccumulate at the lows, and then ideally expect another pump towards the beginning of the year, sometime like October, November, you know, ride that final pump and then disappear for the next 3 years. So.
Exactly. And then, you know, yeah, go into hiding. So, yeah, and that's the context in which we're trading, and that's why people get so emotional in the lower time frames, and this is what market makers attempt to do, is they get retail investors, so people who don't understand really what's going on in the bigger picture and what the market mechanics are. They chop them to death, get them to sell early, capitulate, get frustrated, get upset because they're refreshing their portfolio every fucking day and they just see their numbers going down and they think it's over, when in reality, it's just a local correction. Again, this last bull run, we had a 30% pullback. If we got a 30% pullback right now, just based off of how sentiment is, people would be jumping off of roofs, people would be jumping off balconies, they'd be jumping off bridges. I mean, bro, people are sick about this pullback, and it's half of what we got last cycle. So I can assure you it's okay, but you got to understand there has been way worse, and we've still marked up substantially. So from this low, after this 30% correction in January of the last bull run, we then went up over a 2x. We went up 2.25x. Think about that. So we had a 30% correction, and then from that 30% correction, we went 122% to the upside, right? So we just pulled back 15%. We're fine. We could go down another 15%, and we would still be fine because, as history shows us, 30% pullback didn't prevent us from going to this all-time high, which was about 65,000 in May of 21. So yeah, that's why whenever Logan was saying, well, what happens, you know, what do you, or what's the critical number, critical level for ETH? And I said 3,000. He goes, well, what happens if it goes under 3,000? And I said 0. It's because even if it did go under 3,000, I'm not selling until it makes sense to sell cyclically. It just doesn't make sense to sell right now. Why would you sell when it's quite literally the most bullish seasonality for crypto, not only quarter-wise, but year of the cycle-wise? This is the most bullish year of the cycle of the 4-year cycles that we have in crypto. So I'm not going to miss out on these fucking ridiculous gains because we got this little pullback to shake people out but before we then pulled a 2+X from the lows. So, and then you guys can see as Bitcoin shot up, others' dominance continued to pump because altcoins were ripping, and that's whenever you have your alt season. So that's good to see that because we're essentially seeing the same thing now where if we go to the current price action, right? So we're up here in price discovery on Bitcoin, okay? Look, from the high to the low. Boo-hoo, 17%. Oh, no, it's over, right? It's fine. So, anyways, so we're fine, gentlemen. Don't worry. So that's Bitcoin. That's where we're at on that. So the reason the market is behaving that way, of course, we talked about DXY. We talked about the bond yields. Now, let's take a look at Bitcoin locally, just so you guys understand the price action that's happening over here. So I had prepared this chart because I've literally had this range drawn since probably right about like right around here. So this is whenever people start drawing the range this way, and then we've continued to respect this range for the last, however many weeks. So since December 20th, yeah. So weeks now. So this is clearly the range that we're trading within on Bitcoin. So a couple of different things are happening. We got the bull trap to get all the bears or get all the bulls fucked up on leverage, get people excited, positioning, buying up here so that they're completely underwater by the time we broke back into this range. So We come up to 103. We get this scam wick to the downside to blow out leverage traders. We create the bottom of the range. Come back up. We get the bull trap. We slaughter the bulls. We come back down. And then we start testing these range lows. Okay, so we're trading near these range lows. Then we get this one pump back up at the very beginning of January. Okay, so here's the yearly open, 2025, right? We get our yearly open. It's right here. This is where I have it marked out. So there's your yearly open. One more, right here. Okay, so there's your yearly open. We get this pump up, and then immediately after this pump up, we get this big sell-off below the yearly open and test the bottom of this range perfectly, right? So we come back, test the bottom of the range. We pump back up above the yearly open. This is clearly a significant level because we're kind of hovering right around this, and then boom, we dump down, and then we get this wick right here. So I have these levels marked out as potential liquidity grabs. Why? So what market makers will do, get on a smaller time frame. So what market makers will do is they want to run liquidity to get more money into the market. So we had this wick down that created the bottom of the range. We cleared this liquidity. And people were looking for this very obvious 90.8 thousand wick right here to get taken to run this low so we could take this liquidity as well. This was a very crowded trade. People were waiting for this, and it ended up playing out. So it's a potential liquidity grab. They wick down the price below that level to take that liquidity, and then they immediately buy it back up and send it back in within the range. So now we're back within the range low. The reason they do that is, again, to run those lows, blow out leverage, and take liquidity from people who are going to be buying from down there. The next potential liquidity grab, if they go for it, would be this wick down here at 88.6, 88.7. Okay, so that would be another level you could take a look at, or you could keep your eye out for. The reason being is we could do something like this, where we're looking to create some type of symmetry on the range, because we could do something like this. Oops, not that large. Because the way that ranges play is they like symmetry. Now, they don't always do this. But if you create a bull trap up top, if you're going to have range symmetry, well, then what you're going to do is you're going to have a bear trap to the downside. So if we just remove, let me just remove a couple of these things. No, not that one. Let's get rid of... Just trying to get some of that stuff out of the way. Okay, so you get some range symmetry down here. You could create this bear trap to trap these leverage traders, people who are shorting the bottom of the range, and then get a pump back in within the range, right? So something like this. So you get a move. You run that liquidity, right? And then you come back up into the range and then create that symmetry, that range symmetry. So that's also a possible move. That could happen. That, again, is not going to change the way that I'm positioned or the way that Logan's positioned. Even if you get that move to the downside, it's not that we broke market structure. It's just we're creating range symmetry. We took out the bulls with the bull trap. Now we're going to take out the bears with the bear trap and then come back into the range and then continue higher. So these are just some of the things that locally could happen. So I would watch for this 88.7 thousand level to get run. Possibly. It could not get run because by the time the inauguration happens on January 20th, at that point, it's probably going to be up only for quite a bit. So, because that's just going to be a news event that's going to send price higher. That's just the way that it works. The way that the election had played out, as soon as Trump started winning electoral votes, they were showing that he was winning the election. The more that he was ahead by, the more the market was pumping. So clearly the markets objectively favored Trump. That's not a hot take. That's just how price reacts. And so the inauguration is going to be the same thing. The news is going to send the price higher. So if we can survive the next 7 days before that happens, and we don't run this 88.9 thousand level, or 88.7 thousand level, then we're fine. Then that deviation is not going to happen. We just have that one deviation to the upside. We don't get the deviation to the downside. That's fine. Then we go higher. Either way, we're going higher. So, you got any input or thought on how the Bitcoin looks right now?
No, I mean, I think that we've talked about it on previous streams that we expected there could be a bear trap on Bitcoin. We've drawn it out a couple different times. So I think now this is the closest we've seen to it potentially actually happening.
Right.
It's tested the range lows a little bit, but this is the first time it's actually broken down below range lows. But I think with the timing of it, it's a Monday following Bitcoin already being very close to the bottom of the range. So if it was going to happen, I think today was really the perfect timing. It's also a week before the inauguration. There's also a ton of shit going on. So yeah, I think personally, I don't know if we're going to see it. I don't think we will. I think Bitcoin's probably going to hold here, but yeah, if it does break down, I think that's exactly what's going on, and we'll see it bounce here over the next few days out of it.
Right. Yeah, and we're close. I mean, it's right here. We literally just got to get on the other side of this fucking this horizontal line right here, or this vertical line right here. Boom. We get on the other side of that, we're fine. So, I mean, we're fine regardless, but once we get on the other side of this line, you're gonna see price move up. It's just the reality of it. The markets are favoring him, so that's what's gonna happen. So there's the inauguration. That's Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks fantastically strong too. That's the other thing that we have to talk about. Bitcoin is actually performing so strong given the current conditions of the market. Everything else is selling off. Nvidia, the strongest company since 2020, the best performing company in the stock market, is selling off right now. Everything's selling off because of DXY and the bond yields. So for Bitcoin to still be holding this range, and then the second that it deviated outside of this range, the range is denominated by this white line right here. Okay, so the white line's the bottom of the range. As soon as it came outside of the bottom of the range, we immediately bought back up in here. We wicked back down, came back up, and we're back within the range. So this range is being respected. There are buyers here. People are sending it up. I bet you the volume, yeah, I was just going to say, I bet you volume fucking pumped right here. See, look at all this volume coming in at the range lows. If there's all this volume coming in, that means buyers are stepping in saying, yep, this is worth it. We want a $90,000 Bitcoin. This is a good price for us. You see this volume, boom, pump us right back up into the range, right? So Bitcoin is performing incredibly well, regardless of what you think, how your altcoins are performing. Yeah, our altcoins are getting decimated. Yeah, that happens. Guess what? Buy some more, baby. All right, cool. So that's Bitcoin. Now, just so you have time, let's go over Logan. I know has some charts on. What are the charts on?
Andy Wolf, and then just a quick comparison to DGen before it got listed to Coinbase.
Beautiful. All right, so let me start my screen share, and I'll let you share screen bar and give these guys some juice on our precious meme coins that are going to retire our generation or retire our families for the next 80 years. Okay.
Beautiful. So yeah, I'm just going to show screen captures of the coins just so I'm not having to mess with the charts too much. But for anyone that pays attention, over the weekend, there was a Binance whale that had purchased a significant amount of both Andy and Landwolf. So for anyone that follows it, I know Priyama had shouted it out in the Taylor's code, I believe. Some Binance whale had come in and purchased $750,000 of each asset. So of Landwolf and Andy. So I think it's really important to contextualize this because we always say.
One sec, Bees. Hold on. It might be me, but you're lagging. Give me 1 second. Okay. Should be good now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The last thing we heard was the Binance whale bought 750,000 of Andy, 750K of Wolf, 1.5 mil total, and then cut out after that.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, Binance whale had bought 750,000 of each asset over the weekend. I think it's important to contextualize it because we always say why these bigger investors or, institutional money, they only have the option to come so far down the risk curve. And the reason being, I'm going to show you guys the charts here. So we'll go over Andy first. So for this chart, this is just the 15-minute because the price action was pretty volatile. So you guys can see over the weekend, immediately following that $750,000 buy, the price of Andy, because of its low market cap, surged 54%. So the guy that was making that transaction, he knew that for him to be able to buy this asset at that size, he was going to have to deal with an entry price that was probably 30% above current market price. So we always say these investors, they only have so many options. Usually they'll invest in Bitcoin. Once Bitcoin starts to cool off a little bit, they'll come down to Ethereum, and then Ethereum gets the green light. And then that is kind of what starts alt season and, raises the rest of the altcoins that we're invested in. There's a reason for it because, Bitcoin currently, I don't know what the market cap on it is. I think it's probably close to 2 trillion.
Yeah.
Ethereum is in the hundreds of millions, where
Hundreds of
these
billions.
or hundreds of billions. Yeah. So these investors, they have the opportunity to make multiple millions of dollars worth of transactions and not have a crazy influence on the price action. And they can get good entries on those assets. Where you see something like Andy, they want to make a $750,000 buy. They got to deal with paying 30% above current market price. So obviously, we see this massive wick up immediately following it. There's probably a lot of investors in Andy in any altcoin that have take profit alerts set on these coins, where as soon as Andy went above their price target, they have it set to automatically sell.
Yep.
So this investor, knowing that that's going to happen, should tell you guys something like, okay, this investor believes in this project, in this narrative enough to invest $750,000 and to be willing to pay 30% above current market price, and also be totally fine with the fact that immediately after they buy it, their price is going to, the price of the asset's going to drop far below what they actually paid. So this guy, I bet you, I didn't look at the on-chain transaction or check the Ether scan. Maybe you did, Priamo.
I did, yeah.
So I would imagine that immediately after the transaction, he probably went negative a couple $100,000 on his investment immediately. So to do that twice with Andy and Landwolf and be totally fine with recognizing a $400,000 loss on his investment, obviously he didn't sell. He's going to be holding this, I'm assuming, through May. That should tell you guys something. I mean, someone with that kind of a wallet size, someone that's able to make that kind of an investment, they're not doing shit on accident. He's not doing this to lose money. So that's a super promising purchase to me, to see in a coin like Andy. So yeah, I saw a 54% surge. This was the Andy 15-minute chart. And then I wanted to show you guys the one for Landwolf too. It's very similar. So Landwolf, being a little bit of a smaller market cap than Andy currently, surged the price over 60%. So again, immediately following the pump, retraces about 40% of the move. And then since then has fully retraced the move and actually gone below what the market cap was prior to the transaction. So it's like this guy is down massively on these transactions in the short term, but he knows probably some stuff that we don't know. And there's a reason that these purchases are being made. So this is the Andy and Landwolf charts on the 15-minute. What I wanted to show was the DGen chart. So for anyone that's not familiar with DGen, we haven't talked about this coin too much on stream. This is a coin. It's the second largest coin on the Base network, followed, behind Brett, which relative to Brett, I mean, it's not even close in market cap. So this is showing you guys back in September, October of 2024. So this was just a few months ago. So you guys can see in the middle of September, just to give you an idea to contextualize this a little bit, DGen was trading around 60, 70 million back in September of 2024. And you guys can see there were some people that were aping into this. This is the 30-minute chart. There was some 30-minute wicks on this for 40% moves. So whales were doing the exact same thing prior to DGen getting listed to Coinbase because, again, they knew something that we didn't know. So they're getting positioned. You guys can see immediately following those big pumps, there's huge retraces on the market price. Those guys didn't care. The price continues to range for a little bit for about another, week. This is just the 30-minute charts. This is pretty low time frame. And then on October 1st, that's when the news got announced that DGen was going to be getting listed to Coinbase. Whenever the news came out that DGen was getting listed, I think it was trading around 60 million market cap, 70 million market cap. So a third or a fourth of the size of Landwolf and Andy right now. It got announced that it was getting listed. This is a 15th of the size of Brett
Yep.
whenever it's getting listed to Coinbase. And not even on the day of the Coinbase listing, this is 15 days before it actually got listed. The price surged from 70 million to over 200 million in one day. And that's not even after the listing. That's just after the news got announced that the coin was going to get listed. And that's way, way below the size of Andy and Landwolf right now, a fraction of the market cap of Brett currently. So I think the fact that, yeah, people are making transactions that size on Andy and Landwolf right now, given the negative repercussions that they deal with in the short term, should be extremely promising to you guys. Also, the fact that a coin the size of DGen at this point was able to get a tier one listing like Coinbase should tell you that a Coinbase listing for Brett, especially, is just an absolute given. Like, it is a non-negotiable 100% going to happen at some point in the next few months. And then for Andy and Landwolf, already multiple the size, significantly larger than DGen was at this point. Those listings are inevitable, and these purchases are just an even bigger indicator that they're going to happen sooner rather than later. So yeah, I think this is just important to know, something significant that happened. And I think that you guys should know, once institutional money starts getting behind a coin, the amount of volatility and the amount of movement to the upside that you can see in just a short period of time is insane. Because just as quickly as people thought it was over for DGen, I mean, you guys see here at the end of September, it, as quickly as it pumped up 40%, you guys can see it retraced, 50% from the highs over the matter of, this was September 24th, whenever it had pumped. Before October 1st in the Coinbase listing, it had retraced 50%.
Right.
So a lot of people at that point, just as quickly as they thought it was over, boom, overnight, Coinbase listing gets announced. They're up 200 and some percent on their investment that they very easily could have capitulated on. So yeah, I think this is just important to remember, that these coins can move so quickly. It does not take a lot of money in the grand scheme of things when you look at some of the bigger investors that are going to start to back stuff once some positive news starts to come about and the sentiment around crypto stops being so shitty.
Right. And
that
yeah,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and that's bullish for us to be in price discovery or close to it for Bitcoin and ranging the way that we are, with the first president in history who's ever had a stance at all on crypto. Previous presidents haven't even had a stance on it. Last administration was most certainly anti-crypto. That's, again, objective reality. SEC was bringing lawsuits towards XRP, other companies putting people in jail, etc., that were doing business with crypto. People who were in crypto were getting debanked. It was very anti-crypto. So not only are we finally having the first president that has a stance on crypto, but the stance is incredibly bullish, incredibly open arms, wants to progress the technology, wants to make it a safe haven in the US to be able to develop these technologies, to be able to be in crypto, etc. We're moving into a paradigm where the paradigm is shifting into a bullish administration. So once this local price action, shitty price action is over with, just like you were shown on DGen where it retraced 50%, which is pretty much what most altcoins had done over the last month and a half, is retraced about 50%. So you get that 50% retracement, people start to capitulate at the bottom, the sentiment's fucking dog shit. That's bullish, because when the sentiment is that bad and a asset like Bitcoin hasn't even broken down, boom, that's when you're going to get that big pump and everybody's going to get caught with their pants down. And then all the people who had capitulated and sold at the lows, what do? They FOMO back in as the pump is occurring. And then that's whenever you guys see those blow off tops. You get blow off tops because smart money is accumulating at the very lows. And then as soon as price starts moving back up to the upside and you start to see these big green candles, everybody who had capitulated at the lows or not bought at the lows, they FOMO in at the top, and that's where you continue to get those aggressive big green candles, because then people just keep aping and aping and aping, and then all of a sudden it becomes, oh my god, it just 2x off the bottom. Okay, let me ape in here, it might do another 2x, and then it does another 2x, and everybody else is like, oh my god, it's done a 4x now. Let me ape in at the top, it might do another 2x. It's just a FOMO effect, and then and then you get those blow off tops. So you just gotta understand, this is where you buy. You buy here. I know I continue to say it, but I'm trying to teach you guys how to think like people who actually are going to come out like heroes in this market at the end of the cycle. Right now you should be buying. That's just in my opinion, not financial advice. But what I'm doing is I'm buying more of everything right now. I'm literally buying. Why wouldn't you? This is premier entries, and we're going into a bullish administration, and ETH hasn't pumped yet. Risk assets haven't started flying yet. It's like, this is buy territory. Pullbacks are for buying in bull markets.
Yeah. And I mean, what you said about people FOMOing back in, and then, after it does a 2x, they FOMO back in, then it does another 2x. It's exactly what happened on this coin too. I don't have it included in this screen capture here because this was just a 30-minute chart. But after the Coinbase listing, it pumped up to about 200 million. And then DGen actually ended up topping out in the middle of November, whenever the whole market kind of topped out around November 15th. It ended up topping out just under $500 million market cap. So from the Coinbase listing that you see here, it did do another 2x. So yeah, it's like this is just a small capture of data from the DGen chart, just really focusing around the Coinbase listing. But yeah, I think it's important to know that it's like whenever Andy and Landwolf are starting to get attention like that from massive investors, like we saw all over the weekend, and if it does hint at a potential tier 1 listing coming soon, especially once Trump is inaugurated, I think we've already seen since he won the election, these listings have been a lot more open to listing meme coins in general, especially ones that are 3, 4, $500 million market cap. After they get listed, yeah, you're normally going to see a little bit of a retracement from the hype pump, like we saw on Pepe. Immediately after the Coinbase listing, cooled off a little bit, and then it followed suit with the rest of the market and continued to pump. It's exactly what DGen did. It pumped another 2x following the huge surge after the Coinbase listing. So it's like, yeah, if we can get that kind of a move out of Andy and Landwolf here in the next month or two, and out of Brett whenever it inevitably gets listed, it doesn't mean it's just going to stop. It's these coins, these exchanges aren't going to list these coins to just have a week of profits and then just let the coins die.
Yep.
It's going to continue to follow suit with the rest of the market, and it's going to be the easiest route to a 10x out of these meme coins that you could ever get. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Andy and Wolf are going to perform fantastically well in these next 2 months. So I'll actually share my screen and I'll show this chart real quick on Andy that we sent to the guys in the private crypto plays. So I'll give you guys a little sneak preview. So Andy, if we take a look at this Andy chart. So I had put a couple of ranges on here. What's that, Timby? Let's see. I'll hide the ranges. Yeah. Okay. So if you guys look at something like Andy, which is one of the boys club that we're invested in. Andy, since it's been created, has had a couple of different local ranges that have played out. Okay. And I just want to show you guys a couple of price targets on something like Andy, and why you have to understand right now such a premier entry and why I've been accumulating more of it. When Andy first launched, this was the first range that it had created. Okay. So this is right here about, I believe, about a $2 million market cap. This is about 3840. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is when Andy was tiny. Okay. So it created this first range right here. And when you draw these fibs on the logarithmic fibs on here, Andy is playing these fibs, right? So here's the 0. Here's the 1. This is the range that we created right here. Let me go on a lower time frame just so you can see more price action. And look how well Andy played on these fibs, right? So we get this range 1. Okay, we create this range. Andy, boom, breaks out. Where does it stop exactly? The 1.618 on this logarithmic fib. So it's playing the fibs. If Andy's playing fibs, then that means you can expect the fibs to continue to play throughout the life of this cycle. So Andy hits the 1.618, comes up, creates a second range. Okay, this is range 2 because now it broke to the 1.618, breaks through up into the 1.618 between that and the 2.618, right? Creates a second range. So let's go ahead and turn those objects back on. So here's range 2. Let's turn on this fib. So here's the second set of fibs on Andy. Okay. So we got this range right here. 1.618 is here at 473 price. Okay, that would be $470 million market cap. Okay, has this range 2, finally breaks out of range 2 and comes up where and reacts where. Oh, isn't that weird? It happens to exactly top out at the 2.618 of this first range from down here. Okay, so look, the fibs are continuing to play is what I'm trying to show you. All right. So that's the second range, breaks out from the second range, comes up, hits this 2.618, which is from our first range down below. Okay. Now, after breaking out of range 2, Andy creates a third higher time frame range, which we're in right now. So let's turn that one back on. So there's range 3. Here's the third set of fibs. So I created 3 different sets of fibs off of the different ranges, right? So same thing, we get this interaction with this 2.618 from the first range below. Okay, now we're at where? At the mid-range on this range 3. Look at that, holding as support. So the ranges are playing. So why do I show you those? Well, so now that we have 3 different ranges, 3 different sets of fibs, we have a couple of scenarios that can play out. Okay, so if we look at some price targets, let's put this back on the daily. If we look at some price targets,
geeking out on this one a little bit.
Yeah, this one's fucking. Hold on, let me hide some shit here. So let me hide because I want it to show the range. Hold on. Here, like this. That's better. Okay, so we have a couple of different targets on Andy now. So the first range that we had created, the fibs on this first range, they're playing beautifully. So the 1.618 played, the 2.618 played right here. The 3.618 on Andy is at a $5 billion market cap. Okay, so we can just hide these. Right? So if the fibs on Andy on the range 1 plays, we're getting a 3.618 at $5 billion market cap. From where we're at right now, let's see how much of a move that is. How many X's? Because we're talking X's. We're not talking about percentage gains. We're talking X's. Hold on, I sent it in here. To a $5 billion market cap from where Andy's price is right now, that's a 25X. So if you invest $1,000, if you hit the $5 billion market cap, you have $25,000 now. Okay? So that's on the original range. If you put on the 3 bill from range 2, which would be the 2.618, okay? From range 2, okay, this one right here, if you get the 2.618, which there's some confluence in here, that's a $3 billion market cap. If we go to $3 billion, that's a 15X from here. So $1,000 into $15,000. If we turn on the third fib from the newest range, the 2.618 is right here. Okay, from this large reaccumulation range. So we come up to this 2.618, that's a $10 billion market cap. If it goes to 10 billion, that's a 50X from here. Okay, so why am I showing you that? I'm showing you one because these aren't moon boy targets. These are legitimate actual targets that can play because Andy's already been shown that it'll play fibs. But because as long as ETH performs the way that we think ETH is going to perform and ETH BTC starts pumping, Andy will hit these markers because it's only existed in a market where ETH BTC has been down only. Once Ethereum starts outperforming Bitcoin, Think about how much fucking pressure is going to be built up and how much pump you're going to get off of these assets whenever Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin. So not only is the asset appreciating itself versus the US dollar, but if Ethereum's appreciating against Bitcoin, then the assets will further continue to appreciate against the US dollar. It's compounding effect. So you see these markers, I say 3 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion. 10 billion is probably, is bull case. It's probably best case scenario. 5 billion, I would say, is base case, meaning that I would expect it to get to about 5 billion. Bear case, if Ethereum only goes to, let's say, 10,000, 2x from the previous cycle all-time high, Andy will go to 3 billion, and then you got yourself a 15x. So 15x, 25x, 50x, okay? So I'm showing you that because right now, if you understand that, most likely worst case scenario, you get a 15x on Andy from current prices, wouldn't you be buying more Andy right now? Instead of thinking, oh no, the price is going down. I'm not sure what's going on. Is this really going to be able to rally? Are we going to make money this cycle, et cetera? What happened? Well, if I told you, if you give me $1,000, I hand you back 15,000. How many $1,000 would you try to give me? You try to give me as much money as humanly possible. Sounds like a good trade, right? So when you look at markets like that and say, well, if I believe I'm going to get a 15x on Andy from here, to the end of Q2. Well, I'm going to try to buy as much Andy as humanly possible because my money is going to be worth 15 times more in 4 to 6 months if I do that. So this is why smart money is accumulating right here. Logan just got done talking about a whale to you guys from Binance. Well, this guy's aping in 1.5 million right now because he understands that 1.5 million worst case scenario, he's coming out with 8, 10 mil. It's like that's why he's buying that much and doesn't care about a 30, 40% change in price from him aping in and him already losing 30% of his position just because of how much he bought. Doesn't matter to him because 30, 40%, what's that matter? He's going to get a 15, 10x minimum. It's like he doesn't care. Why would he care? So that's what you got to understand. That's the context in which these whales are buying these assets in. He's not worried about this wick he put in on Andy that you can see right here, right? He's not worried about this wick because he's expecting price to do this. All the way up there. He doesn't care about a little wick he just put in, right? That's only 3 billion right there. Boom. So he doesn't care about that wick. This is where it's going. So that's just the context in which you guys got to understand. This is why we're buying right now. So
yeah, and I mean, I think what you said too, this is the last thing I'll add because I know we got to hop off here pretty soon, but the whenever you're saying, yeah, if you were to give me $1,000 and I was going to give you $15,000 back, it's like that's worst case scenario to the upside. And it's like, if you think about it, where Andy's trading right now around the mid range of, its most recent range that it's put in. If you knew that was the worst case scenario for the upside, and then worst case scenario for the downside currently was to retrace to maybe range lows.
Right.
That's where it would go in the short term. And that's probably where, if it gets to that point, probably not going to stick around too much longer after that. Probably just call it for a little bit. So it's like, where's the bottom? What's the market cap for the bottom of the range that it's in currently?
50 mil.
50 mil.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at what, 150 mil right now?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like that happens. It's what, a 60%-ish pullback?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like 60%-ish pullback, absolute worst case scenario. If you did ride it all the way down to range lows, which probably wouldn't happen, probably be getting out before then. So it's like, if the worst case scenario to the upside is getting $15,000 back for your 1,000, and the worst case scenario to the downside is cashing out $500 from your 1,000, you have a $500 worst case scenario downside loss, and you have a $15,000 worst case scenario upside profit. That's like what's gonna, we keep talking about this, but I think it's just so important to keep remembering. It's like what's going to significantly change the trajectory of your life more.
Right.
It's like, yes, is $15,000 going to dramatically change your life? Well, if all you have to invest right now is $1,000, then probably will. Yeah. It's probably going to be a hell of a difference and give you a nice foundation to make other trades off of and, to do what you got to do. Where if you have $1,000 and then a month from now you end up having 500, Is that going to dramatically change the trajectory of your life? Probably not.
Nope.
And it's all relative. It's like, yeah, if you're investing more money, obviously the downside would be more significant. But if you had more money to invest, and the way we've spoken about money that you invest in crypto, you want to make sure it is money that you can afford to leave in the market, that you can not have to capitulate and sell because you need to pay your rent or you need to buy groceries. Like, it should be money that you can afford to keep in there. It's a no-brainer. It's so asymmetric, the profit versus the loss. And yeah, I mean, that's why I think whenever I messaged Priamo asking him, hey, what would you do if Ethereum slips below the range low? He said zero. And it's not going to go to zero. Obviously, the crypto market's not just going to close up shop overnight, disappear from the face of the earth. But yeah, I mean, the downside is so much smaller than the upside. So it's, yeah, get rich or die trying.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. At this point, is we know what the thesis is. It's gonna play out. We just gotta be diamond hands, bid like fucking heroes, and then sell whenever the time is right in Q2 ish, Q3 ish, depending on where the market goes. And for those of you that want actual, so because we're gonna start wrapping up the stream. Well, first of all, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, like the stream. You guys just got a bunch of free juice. Saw the markets, saw some of the coins that we're investing in. Logan gave you some fantastic analysis on DGen and Andy and Wolf and the whale investing into those assets. Like the stream at the very least. Give us some support. Let's get this pushed out into the algorithm, get other people seeing this stuff so we can continue to build the community and build the organization. If you're not already inside of the Taylor's Code, the link is in the description. The Taylor's Code is the ultimate university. I don't even know what the fuck we labeled it as. The university for the ultimate professional. That's what we got labeled as in the description. Okay. So join the Taylor's Code, because inside of there's when we're actually going to give you positional moves that we're doing. So when we're buying assets, when we're selling assets and taking profit, as opposed to just waiting on YouTube to see what we're doing on YouTube, because we're not going to tell you exactly when we're buying and selling. Okay. That's reserved for the individuals within the private organization and the private chat that we're investing with. Join the organization if you want to learn sales, marketing, affiliate marketing, e-commerce, obviously getting into the crypto market, etc. There's a bunch of materials in there that'll teach you how to set up wallets, how to set up DeFi platforms, how to use centralized, decentralized exchanges, what assets to invest in, how to get on chain, how to get off of just the normal centralized exchanges that most people use. All these things that you're going to need to be competitive in these markets is going to be inside of the Taylor's Code. Okay. So all those resources, materials are in there, and you're going to get direct access to myself, Logan, and the other gentleman that we invested with. Okay. So become a part of the network and help grow the organization. The more money that you guys make, the more money that everybody makes, the stronger that everybody becomes. The richer that your network is, the better it is for everyone. So with that being said, join the Taylor's Code, get inside. We'll get you making money ASAP. Don't capitulate. Don't sell at the lows. Okay. Bid like heroes and understand that the thesis will play out. You just got to wait for the right time to actually sell. You don't sell when it's, bottomed out red. If you were going to sell and take profits, you should have done that 2 months ago. Right now is not the time to do that. But outside of that, it's Mr. Producer out of here. Ready? Hold on.
Good night.
Waiting for it. All right. Let's see. And